Welcome to Sales Chaos. I'm Dan Waltrip, writer of the G-Conversation sales blog, sales consultant, speaker, author, dude who does extreme things. My partner in crime here is Todd Schnick.
I'm Todd Schnick, the Intrepid Group, writer, author, speaker, distance runner. I also do cool extreme things.
Yeah, it's not a competition.
It's
just a show here.
We're just extreme guys.
We're extreme guys. We're here talking about social selling today, which is an extreme subject, I would think.
Yep.
At least by all the debate that it's getting these days.
Sure is.
The whole idea of social selling is really, with the rise of social media, how do we adapt that to selling? Which seems to be a problem these days.
Well, I think it's a problem, Dan, because I think most people do it wrong.
Yeah. It's not hard to do it wrong.
It's not hard to do it wrong, and there's a lot of debate over whether it really should be called social media, because the term media, I think, confuses people into thinking it's just another media broadcast mechanism where they could just blast one-way messages.
Yeah. It's not a TV show.
And it's
like
exactly, it's not a newspaper ad. It's not a television commercial where you're being interrupted to hopefully listen to someone's message. Right. I think people use social media as a one-way broadcast medium to sell, and that's why they fail at it.
Yeah, and one of the challenges that we face, and by the way, each show is 12 minutes. We've got 10 minutes and 35 seconds before we hear the magical chime that's going to tell us that we're done and you're back to your day of selling. But one of the things that makes social selling difficult is the fact that we have social media platforms that kind of people think are, push the magic button, ding, and I'm magically successful.
I open up a Facebook page and I'm done. We're good. Yeah. All our problems are solved, and that's why so many people struggle. And then in a week, when they haven't closed the deal, they're like, "Oh, this doesn't work," and so they give up on it.
Yeah. So some things to remember when you're trying to social sell. One is there are a lot of experts out there. Just take a little bit from each. Find something you like. We're not too positive on some of the experts, just because it's a complex subject, and I don't think there is a quick, easy fix. So I would say sample. If you know something works for you, stick with it. Even if the experts say, you should be doing something else. In selling, a lot of things take time, right? Prospecting, referrals, building a book of business takes time. And like in real selling, if you shortcut that process or you take the easy way out, you end up in 6 months with nothing.
Nothing. I'm actually going to disagree with the thing you just said, and that it's a complex subject. I think the problem is, I think people make social selling too complex.
I'm drinking my dissent.
I think what the problem is that whenever I'm trying to explain something, social media and social selling to a client, I always try to put it in the context of how would they actually interact with human beings at a live, face-to-face networking meeting. Yeah. If all you're doing is blasting out your blog posts and your latest webinar and your latest ebook one way on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Google+, if that's all you're doing, then it's not unlike going to a networking meeting with copies of your latest article and passing them out to people and not saying anything to anybody and then leaving. Yeah. You're doing the same thing. Yeah. And so, I think there's all this conversation about all the right platforms and the techniques and the tactics and the this and the that and the strategy. I'm not suggesting you can't have a strategy in your sales process, but social selling is the key word there is social. Yeah. And most people don't do that. And there are still, although it's a digital medium, there's still humans on the other end of that conversation, and you got to treat them as such.
Yeah, well said. So I think one advice is treat social selling like you would in any selling. Invest in your own success, learn what works and keep doing it. 2, you're saying it's an actual conversation, right? So, in real life, if you wouldn't go, it's a great illustrator, go to a networking event, just, we all hate that guy who just shuffles business. That guy. Hey, how you doing? It's like, well, you don't really care how I'm doing. You want something from me, so just tell me what you want. Yeah, so 2, I guess, don't be a jerk. Remember, it's a conversation. And 3, if you're going to start a conversation, a little play off of what you said, be there to follow it up. I mean, I find it frustrating, and I'm sure many of you do as well, when someone replies you or something on Twitter, and and you just don't get any answer back, or you respond to someone and there's nothing there. They started the conversation and then they just disappear on you or something. It's almost like you're talking to somebody in real life and they just like turn around and walk away.
They look at you, turn around and walk away. Jay Baer of Convince and Convert put out a blog post probably within the week where he said 70% of organizations that have a social presence, a Twitter page, a Facebook page, don't respond when someone posts something on their wall. I can't even fathom that. It's exactly like walking into the front desk at a hotel and saying, "Hey, I'm not happy. My room is a little dirty," and the front desk person looking at him and walking away. That's the same thing, is it not?
Motel 6 treatment.
Well,
by the way, if Motel 6 is a sponsor, we take that back.
Yes, we love Motel 6 because they'll leave the light on for you.
That's right.
Dan, you talk about people being selfish. How does that come into play here when you talk about social selling?
Well, it really becomes evident a lot more. I mean, so we've just said, follow some of the sales, start a conversation, continue the conversation, then don't be selfish would be, I think, a fourth tip and trick for you if you're looking for social selling. I mean, selfishness is easy when you don't have to be in front of somebody. And, in real life, like, hey, how's your day going, man? You doing good? We don't. I mean, it's like showing up to Sunday school on Sunday morning. I mean, everyone pretends like they like each other, and they may not. Or in the morning at work, your boss says, hey, how was your day? He really means, are you healthy enough to get everything done today that I want you to get done, right? But on the internet, when I'm not in front of you, when that avatar may not even really be you, right? But we feel like we can just be a little bit more of our selfish selves. And so, like you mentioned, people not responding, people blasting out everything about their webinars all the time, all their ebooks to download, buy my book, come to my fancy course. It just gets really tiresome after a while. And, I think what's easy, or what the danger in that is, now everything I see from you, I see your name pop up and I'm like, oh, mute. I may even still follow you, but I just I'm like tired of your crap, you know what I mean? And so that's that selfishness. It kind of like it's a snake bite almost. You think you're helping yourself, and maybe you're getting lots of followers. I mean, I know some experts who have 100,000 followers. And then they try to hold a conference and they can't get 500 people to show up. You would think 100, but it's not about, I guess what you're saying, it's not about quantity, it's quality.
Well, you're better off having one meaningful conversation. Let's liken it to a face-to-face networking meeting again. There may be 100 people in that room. Do you really have meaningful conversations with all 100 people? No, most oftentimes you don't. You usually end up hooking up with 2 or 3 people where you have a deep, meaningful conversation where there's going to be a follow-up action. That's no different on Twitter. I think the other key to success with social selling is embracing the transparency of the social web, and being, because people are having conversations every day on Twitter talking about innumerable subjects, and on Twitter you're encouraged to observe those. But then the key is to participate and engage and extend the conversation, and it's that process that then connects you with new people, and that's where new business opportunities come from.
Yeah, and part of don't be selfish is maybe a 5th or 6th. We've run through 5th or 6th tips here for you on social selling. Part of social selling is you're not face to face with anybody, so you got to think about that. Is if someone's in your face, hey, I want to say something, we're like, okay, I'll hear you because I'm kind of like shoved against the corner and I have to. It's easy on your computer when you get an email. What do you have to do? Just hit a button and archive the email. You never see that salesman again. Social selling is even easier because you don't have to follow them. It's unlike email. You don't have to get their messages. So with social selling, it's not just be not selfish. It's like you have to give and give and give, invest. Like you were saying, enough where someone trusts you enough so then when you say, hey, by the way, I can help you and it's going to cost you, right? You're going to have to invest in your own success, and then if you haven't done that investment, someone just turns you off. So I think another key aspect to understand with social selling is you have to invest a lot more in the upfront relationship. Some people call it credibility. Other people call it validation, but I think it's relationship strength has to be stronger.
It's never been easier to do that because of the social web. In the old days, when you'd have a conversation with the prospect and you'd say, you know what, I can recommend a book to you, or I can recommend a white paper that I think you might find some value in. Let me get back to my office and I'll try to find it and I'll mail it to you in an envelope. It was hard to do that. Nowadays, you can come back to your office and within seconds you can email links to a dozen wonderful articles that can help someone. So the key to social selling is all the things we talked about. But as you said, Dan, it's about investing, not in yourself, but investing in serving and helping others. And it's never been easier to do that. And the other issue that people have with social selling is I don't want to share too much of my knowledge, because then they won't need to hire me.
Absolutely ridiculous, right?
And so
absolutely ridiculous.
It likens, think of a woman in a bikini.
I'm thinking
she's showing you 90% of herself. People are willing to spend money on that final 10%. It's no different. Share all the knowledge that you have and give, because people are still going to want you for that final 10%. You can give them to put them over the top.
Point number 7, and we've got a minute and 15 or so seconds left to hit you up with some more knowledge. Remember this. In recent months, years, with the social selling revolution, we've made all these concepts around ebooks and downloadable PDFs and link bait. Some of the
link bait,
optimized language we use around social selling. So apply these same things tactically to how you would to your other selling tools. If you have a crappy brochure, right, in real life, if your advertisement, the brochure you hand to someone is crappy, it's no different on the social web. Just more people have a chance to see that your work sucks or you haven't invested into your work. So we're so cavalier to download my thing. Now, if it's not a good white paper or doesn't look amazing, maybe you should retool that, right? Or develop. And you've got some experience doing this. I know we've got 10, 15 seconds. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, the other key is don't be afraid to share someone else's work. That helps your client. Serve your competition, Dan, you won't have any. Well, so if someone else has great material, don't be afraid to share that with your prospect, because that's still bringing them value, and they're going to know where that value came from.
Well, that's all for today about social selling. Thanks for joining us. Dan Waldschmidt.
Todd Schneck. We'll see you next time on Sales Chaos TV.